Kyrie Irving said it best after the game. It wasn't pretty, but it was a win. Cavs win tonight, take a 2-0 series lead against the Boston Celtics, 99-91 here at Quicken Loans Arena. Chris Fedor, Joe Vardon, and Chris Haynes with you. Guys, once again, it was a back-and-forth game between the two teams. The scrappy Boston Celtics got the Cavs 3 different times in the fourth quarter to cut that lead to 1 before the Cavs finally pulled away, Joe, on the heels of LeBron James, 15 points in the fourth quarter, Kyrie Irving, 9 points in the fourth quarter. The two guys that Boston does not have an answer for took over late.
Yeah, they really did. I mean, LeBron scored 30 points. That's the 69th time in his 12 seasons. This is his 10th postseason run that he's done that. He had 30, 9 rebounds and 7 assists. That's the 21st time he's done something like that. So you hear all those things and you think, wow, this is just another virtuoso performance for LeBron. But really, he didn't get going until late third quarter. If you look at the first 6 quarters of this series, Boston really had kind of found a way to keep him in check a little with the double team system that they had run against him. And, it took him remembering in his case, to move towards the rim without the ball to beat that double team.
Chris, sometimes series in the NBA playoffs are difficult to understand. And then other times, they're very, very easy. After 2 games against the Boston Celtics, I'm ready to say that this series is going to come down to one thing. The Cavs have more talent than the Celtics, no matter how hard the Celtics fight.
Yeah, and we knew that coming in, but I think it's even more evident right now. You see that the Boston Celtics, they play hard. Mm-hmm. They don't give up. They play with grit. They have a lot of guys out there with pride, and they're young. They don't know anything else but to play hard.
Yeah.
But it shows that when it's time to actually play big man basketball, time to really, step it up, they just don't have that next level that they can take it to. And it takes a certain amount and level of talent to be able to get it to that point. And that's where the Cavaliers have the advantage and the edge and the experience for that matter. It's going to be a fun series. I think Boston's going to show the league and show the world that I think they're a team to be reckoned with in the future. They're missing a couple of pieces here and there. That's going to put them over the top. But as of right now, man, they're just up against it.
Yeah, Chris, you mentioned it. Isaiah Thomas was excellent again tonight. 22 points. He had 22 points on Sunday as well. But they don't have that go-to guy late in the game. If you look at it, Kyrie Irving and LeBron James, they scored the last 28 points for the Cavs combined. The Celtics don't have guys that can go on that kind of run late in games.
And even Isaiah, as good as he is, he's still not that dominant. A lot of it is his size.
Yeah.
He just can't get quality looks every single time down. Kyrie can get a quality look every single time down. LeBron can do the same thing. Even Love to a certain extent. So Boston, they don't have the firepower. They have to play good team sound basketball in order to even put themselves in position to be competitive, let alone try to actually win the game and make plays down the stretch when the defense is keyed on you and when they're on top of their game. So it's just hard. I mean, it's good basketball. Brad Stevens, you're a coach.
Yeah.
You have to give him props. He definitely got these guys ready and they're focused and in tune. He just doesn't have enough players right now.
It's funny, after Kyrie and LeBron scored 28 straight points for the Cavs to close out the Celtics, a lot of the conversation in the postgame, Joe, from David Blatt, from Kyrie, from LeBron, from Tristan Thompson, from Kevin Love, it was about the defense late for the Cavs. Do you feel like they got the stops when they needed to get the stops, or was that more of a product of Boston maybe not having enough?
I thought they played well defensively. I mean, I remember looking up at the scoreboard and seeing what Boston had at the time and thinking that they had gotten this under control. I just feel like, I had said a minute ago that LeBron had figured out the double team.
Yeah.
But there were still possessions in the fourth quarter that weren't good.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you only have 2 guys who score all the points, I mean, yeah, they're 2 of the best players in the league, but that means that something else isn't clicking quite right. And I feel like some of the mistakes they made offensively led to some opportunities for Boston to get back in the game. I mean, like you said, it was down to 1 a couple times, and there was still only a 4-point game with 3:30 left. I mean, it's after the game, David Blatt, they had to run up a cup of water to him because he was so thirsty, and he looked at the water and said, "Is there vodka in this?" I mean, it's that kind of series. The Cavs are up 2-0, but it hasn't been easy.
No, it has not been easy, and Boston's going to continue to fight in the next 2 games. They're undermanned, but that's been their hallmark all season long, especially in the second half when they went on the brilliant run to finish out the regular season, winning 24 of their final 36 games. Joe mentioned it. I mentioned it. Kyrie and LeBron late in games. It was a two-man show. Timofey Mozgov played well as well. He had 16 points offensively, providing that third option offensively. J.R. Smith, though, somebody needs to tell J.R. that the playoffs have started because he has just not shown up here. 1 of 8 from three-point range tonight. That makes him in 2 games against Boston. 3 of 15 from three-point range here at home, here at the Q, where he shot it really, really well. Time to get worried about J.R.?
I don't think we're going to need to worry about him because you have to understand with JR, he has a shoot-first mentality at all times.
Shoot all the time
All the
mentality.
time. So eventually he's going to shoot his way out of it. And that's not anything that the Boston Celtics are doing because, as Joe mentioned, they're trying to take LeBron out. And so that's opening up the lane and, passing lanes for J.R. Smith to hit those wide-open shots. And he's just not doing it. But I will say that I have seen him be a little bit reluctant to take those jumpers. He's not taking as much as he was last part of the season where he was just jacking them up. I don't know if that's because of the playoffs, he wants to be much more in control, or if it is because he's struggling a little bit and he wants to let the game come to him. So, concern? No, I wouldn't say concern because the Cavaliers have guys like, say, Timofey Mozgov. Hey, let me throw some about Timofey Mozgov. Do you guys remember him basically shoving Tyler Zeller down to the floor and just dunking on him like that, just putting his foot all in his mouth?
Yeah.
And walk. That was amazing right there. You should applaud him for that. That was Shaq-esque right there. I just wanted to give him a little love right there. I thought he was going to move away from him.
And I think that's a great point because if you came into this series and you looked at where the Cavs had the advantages over Boston, obviously one of the advantages that they had was inside. I mean, Kelly Olynyk has never seen a gym. Tyler Zeller hasn't seen a gym in years. So that's one of the advantages for the Cavs, and I give them a lot of credit. They took advantage of that. When their offense was bogged down at times, they went in the post to Mozgov. They went in the post to Love. Tristan Thompson doing it on the glass again. The janitor cleaning things up. That's something that's going to have to continue in the next 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, the second quarter was really tough for the Cavs, to the point where LeBron was standing for large stretches of possessions on the wing, almost having had enough of this double team. Like, he needed a minute to figure this out. And at those times is when they fed Timofey, they fed Kevin in the post because that's where the one-on-one matchup was. And both, in both cases, the Cavs were winning those.
And the Cavs won the rebounding advantage as well, although it looked rough at the beginning when Boston was getting a bunch of second-chance opportunities. The Cavs finished with the rebounding edge. They also finished with more second-chance opportunities, and that comes down to Tristan Thompson once again late in games. And for the people that continue to wonder, why is Tristan Thompson finishing games? Why don't they go to Mozgov? The 2 late offensive rebounds for the Cavs, really, really big plays, especially when you're talking about the playoffs. Oftentimes, Chris, coming down to a play here or there.
And you have to understand about the difference between Timofey Mozgov and Tristan Thompson in late game situations. Timofey Mozgov, we all love him. The team, the dynamic of the team has definitely changed since he's come on board. He's definitely elevated their defensive presence. With that being said, he has a lot of boneheaded plays out there that he lays out in the court from time to time. Coach Black just doesn't feel comfortable when he's out there in late game situations. He may hit somebody, lose his temper, cussing refs out and rushing or whatever he does. It's Tristan Thompson. Who is that guy? Tristan Thompson.
Well, it is 12:30.
It is 12:30. Hey, I'm a professional though. I gotta play our game. Let's keep it going. Tristan Thompson, he's a guy that Black can trust. He's going to go out there and do his dirty work. He's not going to change at all. It doesn't matter what lineup is out on the floor. He's going to play his game, and he does that and does it to the best of his ability. Now, you talk about all the advantages that the Cavaliers have out there. Let's talk about one of the disadvantages out there. The bench. Golly, 51 points to 7 points. God, if it wasn't for the big 3 tonight, putting up 69 again, I don't know what the Cavs will be tonight.
I got news for you, though. If the bench is only going to go 7, I'll take the 92 from the starters, I guess, right? I mean, you're going to have that if the bench is only going to give you 7.
Yeah,
hello.
2 things about JR, not to go too far back in our conversation,
That's
but
fine.
On the plus side, he had 5 steals tonight.
Yeah.
He's trying. I mean, it's not. It's not. Well, but it's not. I mean, he's not taking his shooting woes with him, as some guys.
Yeah, I agree.
But then the second thing, and it's not that I'm the next, John Beilein or anything like that, but the ball's not coming out of his hand.
Here we go.
There were a couple threes I actually saw that didn't have rotation.
Didn't Kyrie teach you?
Didn't Kyrie? He taught you. You know, he plays. You just watch. And I am
That's old Kyrie,
right. But yeah,
You're welcome,
so JR, you know, certainly one of the more pure shooters that they have on this team. He's just in a funk right now.
All right, here's the $1 million question. The Cavs struggle again a little bit with the Celtics' tough physical defense. Avery Bradley was getting into the guys. Marcus Smart getting into the guys. It was a problem for the Cavs. It's not often that they score less than 100, and tonight here they scored 99. Has Boston, if you talk about moving forward into a series against Chicago and a series against maybe Atlanta or Washington, because Washington's playing terrific basketball right now, has Boston provided a bit of a blueprint for some of these teams moving forward?
No, I definitely think so. I think you look at how they're playing LeBron and the adjustment they made with a certain Avery Bradley on Kyrie. Now, I really wish the refs would have let them play tonight.
I know.
Because Avery Bradley, he was all in Kyrie Irving stuff, and refs bailed. There was some that was just some good hard-nosed defense, and the ref called some fouls. But in Boston, it's going to be a different story. He's going to be able to play physical. Now we're going to see, will Kyrie be able to adjust and still be able to get his numbers? Will LeBron be able to go out there and do the things that he did tonight? With that being said, like I said, they don't have the manpower to continue that and to keep it up. I don't think, based off right now. So what I do think what they're doing is showing the blueprint, number one. And number two, they're softening up the Cavs for the likes of the Chicago Bulls. Because if you can get Bron, nobody expected this to be a real physical series. But if Avery Bradley and Marcus Smart can get up in those guys and Jay Crowder can get up in LeBron, lay some physical poundness, that's only going to suit the Chicago Bulls once they get them.
Cavs were not perfect tonight. They did struggle at times, but they got the win, thanks in part to LeBron James and Kyrie Irving, their heroics from the third quarter all the way until the end. 99-91, Cavs lead the series 2-0. Now the series is going to shift to Boston. So for Joe Vardon, Chris Haynes, I'm Chris Fedor. Good night from the Q. Continue to check out cleveland.com/Cavs.